All right, so one of the most asked questions I get on my silage tutorial, which is by far my most popular video, is how did you split this field into a million little fields? The answer is actually quite simple. We are going to take a look at that tonight. We're going to take another field, a smaller one, and split it just like this. You're going to need a couple tools. The first thing that you're going to need is a tractor. The second thing that you need is an appropriate cultivator, and then finally an appropriate seeder. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab the seeder. We're going to drive him to the field of our choice, and we're going to pick, whoops, wrong button. We're going to pick grass as the seed that we're going to plant, okay? So we're going to move over, and let's find a good field on the map here. We'll decide where to go. I'm thinking something small. Now we own 6, so let's go ahead and split up 6. So I will drive down there, and I will catch up with you in a second. All right, so as we arrive, we're going to do field 2 here because I have stuff planted on field 6. I totally forgot. So what we're going to do is we're going to buy this field, and I'm going to show you how to do this. And I forgot, we have to plant a crop first. This is going to sound horrible, and we don't have to wait for the crop to completely grow, but we're going to have to wait for it to grow a little bit. So we're going to do this. Hang on. Here we go. Boop. We're going to buy this field because we need to have an ability to measure how wide the swaths are. If you want them to be even. If you don't, you can just plant grass strips. But we'd probably like to make it a little bit even and a little bit neat so that all of our perfectionist friends are happy. So I'm going to pull this tractor over to the side here with the big cultivator. And we're going to get our Forterra going here with, we'll just plant wheat. All right, and I'm going to back up. And I'm just going to plant the whole field, and we're going to let it grow, probably just the first stage. And then we're going to tear it all up with the cultivator. I know it's horrible, but we want to do that because we want to, you'll see exactly why I do that. So let's go ahead and get this guy going. Going to hire a worker. And he's going to plant the field, and we will be back once he's done. So I will join up with you in a minute, and we'll get our finished field. All right, folks, so here's how we do this. So now that we have the field planted, we are going to cultivate it. Now, you can start cultivating right away. I hate to waste the seed, but you got to do it. This is how you do it. So the other thing you could do is you could take a field that is already planted, or if it has stubble on it, so you can tell where you've cultivated and where you haven't. So you could theoretically harvest a crop, have the stubble on the field, and then use that to tell where you've cultivated and where you haven't. That'd be a cheaper way to do it. But for the premise of this video, or if you have a brand new field that you've just bought that's already been cultivated and you want to split it up, this is how you do it. So the first thing you're going to do is plant the seeds, and we're going to let them grow a little bit. So I'm going to hop out here and use my handy dandy Control R key to get them to grow to the first stage. There we go. Whole field is grown. The second thing we're going to do is going to grab a cultivator, preferably a big one because it goes faster. And you need to determine at this point how wide you want each grouping to be. So let's say we want all of our tiles to be 2 wide, okay? Now, you may end up with an uneven amount of field at the end, and that you can just grass in, or you can add it as a third tile or an uneven tile, but you can't, you could really measure it out using Jared's method. If you've seen my friend Jared's video, he talks about measuring the fields. He may not even have it available yet, but if you stand here, you can notice up in the right-hand corner of your map, there's a little tile that says, or a little set of numbers that say 790, 342. And as I walk, you can see here, if I stay on the 790 line, I can see exactly how wide my field is by, I think it's latitude or longitude. I think the second number is latitude. And I can divide it evenly that way and say, okay, well, I want each row to be, if let's say it's 100, you can make each row 25. but you're going to lose a little bit when you go to grass it in. So here's how I did it. To keep it even, I count the times that the tractor goes up and down the field. So if I want to have, let's say in this case, I want to make it 2 lengths wide of this cultivator. So I make sure that I'm lined up at the beginning, at the very edge, and I go ahead and cultivate. And we will pick up once he's done with his second pass, so I will be back in a minute. All right, so we're doing 2 passes in this case. So there's our nice swath of field. Now, I would always use hired workers to do this. If you try to do it yourself, you're probably going to end up with a mess because, if you do it yourself, you're going to run the risk of being off a little bit or not making the line straight. The hired worker, oh, this idiot car. The hired workers always get the lines perfectly straight going with the field as long as it's a square field. Now, if you have a round field, well, you're probably going to have to do it by hand. And at that point, I wouldn't try to be so anal as far as getting it measured perfectly. You probably just do what you can to get it close, but it's not going to be perfect. But on these square fields where you can actually take a worker and hire them, you can, have this work. So now, one thing you got to consider, if you have a smaller field or it's a smaller farm, you may want to use a smaller seeder to do this portion. Like I said, I'm changing the seed to grass, so now we're in grass. And this is a very wide seeder, so this is going to make a nice, like 6 or 12 foot wide swath of grass between each field. Now, if you're making it like a potato farm where they split them up so that they can get the fertilizer truck down the middle, you might want to make it this wide. If you want to just have grass to separate them, you might want to use a narrower seeder. But the point is, you're going to line this seeder up as close as possible to the lines. And like I said, it's never going to be exactly perfect, scientifically perfect, but it's going to be pretty dang close. So now we're going to go ahead and hire a worker, planting grass. You can see it steps back to the left a little bit, so you're going to lose a little bit of field. Like I said, it isn't going to be perfect, but it's going to be close enough for government work. So we'll let this guy run down, and we'll wait till he's finished, and then we'll do another 2 rows of cultivation, and you'll see our field. You can already see here, though, how it's coming together. So once again, that's how you make tiles. You will get bumps like that. You can see there he left a little bump because the field is a curved field, and when you have these angled fields like this where you can see it's kind of angling down to the right. There, it went back again. It doesn't always make a perfectly straight line, so you're going to have to just cope with it. That's how it goes. That's the way the game works. But it's, once again, close enough for government work. Oh, I like saying that. Can you tell? All right, so once he's done, we'll start our next grouping. Now, the nice thing is once you put the grass down, the cultivator will not tear the grass up. So in order to remove that grass from the field, you are going to have to plow. We're not going to do that right now, but if you do ever want to revert the field back to its natural field state, you're going to have to run a plow down the grass strips to get rid of them, because simple cultivation will not do it. Where's my big bull? Here he is. So once again, we're going to get this guy lined up, and of course traffic does not make that very easy, but we can do it. So we're going to pull this in. Pull up a little bit so we have it nice and level with the grass. And it's a little bit overlapping right now, so I'm going to... Of course, it's always harder to do it with these articulated tractors. Oop, a little bit too much. There we go. The camera makes me feel woozy. There we go. Okay. And so, almost. Not perfect, though. I want to get it just right. You can even see there the cedar doubled over a little bit here, but that's just how it goes. Now we're going to run this down, clean up that line, and we'll run this guy up and down again, and I will be right back. As you look back here as we're going down the field on the last pass here for this run, you can see already how it's starting to come together. So you can just imagine that next patch of grass going along there, and that's how we put this together. And it looks real nice, doesn't it? Nice and clean. Get a real nice view on that. So let's go ahead and finish this up. We'll do one more, and you'll see what the two look like together. So back to my little JCB here, or big JCB, and we're going to hop over here and bring our evader stat into play. Going to line up the edge like that, and hire the worker, and off we go. So if he's going to get it, looks like I might be a little bit on that edge. Nope, he's getting it. So, all right, we'll pick up in a minute. All right, so last but not least here, you can see, whoops, you can see the tree. You can see here I've made 2 of my strips now. The one on the left looks like it's smaller, but it's not. It's actually the same size. They're basically 2 passes, but because of the optical illusion, see now the one on the right looks smaller, but they're both the same size. So, folks, that's how you make field strips, and you just make them measured. So like I said, one strip up, 1 strip down. If you want to make them wider, you can make them any length you want. Just make sure you count. So that if you're doing 3, make sure you do 3. You know, you can even do 2 grass strips if you want a wider strip. But that's how I measure them out, because obviously if you try to do it by hand, it's going to be a lot harder to get them perfect. Now I think, no, this is the way I did it originally too, to make it even. So, but that's how you make it even. You just have to have the right equipment. Obviously, if you're on a little farm and you have a small seeder and a small cultivator, well, you're just going to have to make more passes. So if you want a field this wide, you might have to make 15 passes with the Crockerling, and then 2 passes with your little Pottinger seeder. But same results when you're done. It just this is a lot faster because I'm using big tractors and big equipment. But the same thing can be done with the smaller equipment. It just requires more runs up and down the field. So that's part 1. Let's go on to part 2. All right. So the second thing that we're going to look at tonight is how to connect your fields. Now, you have to own both fields, obviously, to start with, and the best candidates are fields that are right next to each other. In this case, 15 and 20 here in Sosnovka. If you drive across, you can see here it's a really nice straight line between the 2 fields. And then again on the other side, once again, it's a real nice straight line between the upper end of the fields. And so we're going to connect these 2 fields. The first thing that you have to do, up in your control menu, you're going to see the default is at the very bottom there, you're going to see the O key. It says allow to create fields, okay? If I press O now, it's going to say limit to fields. So I just allowed it to create fields. If it says this, you're fine. If it says this, you will not be able to plow anything except for the field. Now this works great if you want to plow a field but don't want to expand it. But when you want to expand it, you need to press O so that it says limit to fields. It's kind of backwards feeling, but that's how it works. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to drive. Now in this case, this plow is not reversible. Some of the plows in the game are reversible. But you want to put the outside, or this back area where the wheel is, you want to put this to the outside of the field because it's going to be easier to measure when you do this. So you're going to back out so you can see the whole plow. I would say line that last, theoretically, this should be the point right here is where I line this up. And unfortunately, you can't hire a worker to do this. You have to do this yourself. So you're going to get right lined up here. So it takes, just take your time, get it right, and you're going to drop the plow and see what happens. All right, so it looks like we're just perfect. And I'm going to very slowly accelerate, especially this first one. See, it's too wide, so we're skunked. So we're going to pick this up. I'm going to back up, and there's a way to fix that. I'll show you how to do that last, but it's hard. Once you have a mess up like that, it's tough. So looks like we want to put that wheel where that is, and let's see what happens now. So with this plow, we're going to put the wheel. Yeah, that's perfect right there. Okay, so we're going to just nice and slowly creep across. Don't go fast. Just take your time. Now, once we get moving on the inner part of the field, it doesn't really matter how fast or slow we go. But in this case, on the outside like this, we want to keep it nice even pace. There we go. It looks like we need to expand it out a little bit more because I got off track. So I'm going to back up. I want it to bump right up nice there, nice and neat. So it was good until about there. So let's go ahead back here and line this wheel up again. Put it right about there. I'm telling you, it's hard to get this perfect. That should be a little bit better this time. And we're going to run it all the way up. And we're close. I want it to be a little bit better, though, so we're going to do one more try. I'll blow it all up. All right, drop it. Run it. And we're starting to get it nice and even. Good enough for government work once again. All right, so there we go. So now the field is connected. And we're going to go down here to the bottom half.
6 hours. 2 times we spent in the car in a week.
So I'm lining up for the bottom half. I do these first because these are the hardest cuts, you know. It looks like it's going to be too far away. So in this case, you know, there's certain places where, you know, this is pretty geometrical underneath. So you have to get that next cut. And really, there's only certain places you can cut. So, all right. So over here, we're going to take this across, and we're doing good. Boom, right there. All right. So now we have our field. And that's all we have to do on the outside. So from this point forward, we don't have to be quite so picky about how we do it. But here's what happens next. And this takes forever. So be patient. It's going to take you a while to get this done. And you can see there it even went over. But whatever. It is what it is. So we're just going to keep cutting this back and forth. Sometimes I find it's faster to instead of stopping. You don't want to rip the field up though. But there we go. Lift that plow. We're going to grab this and drop that, and off we go. Another plow run. So you can see this is tedious, and that's the thing. You just got to be patient, keep going. When you're done, it'll be worth it in the end. Okay, so before we get too far into it, so you're basically what you're going to do is you're going to have to, this whole area here that I'm driving on, all this grass and stuff, you're just going to keep going back and forth until this is all gone and plowed under, okay? And you're going to go this length the whole time. So when you're done, you're going to have what looks like a big potato chip between the two fields because it looks like a wavy laze. And I will go ahead and get that done, and we'll see what it looks like when it's finished. So I'll be back. All right, that's what it looks like when it's done being plowed. So you can see here now we've joined the two fields. Now you will notice on the map it does not update or show the changes that we made. So just be aware that you're going to be pretty much, that's where it is. Now you can seed directly onto this, so you don't have to cultivate it. But if you want it to look uniform, if it makes you upset that it's not uniform, you can always cultivate it first and then seed it. And I'm just going to fill in grass here because we screwed up. So what we do is if you want to fix the mistakes that you made, like that mistake that I made there, you get the seeder and put grass in it, and then just very carefully run along the edge. You don't want to get too much because you don't want to seed over. There we go. We're just filling it in. You kind of use it to paint the field back together again. There we go. And so we fixed our little mistake there. This will actually, believe it or not, if you want to turn this back into the way it was, where you have the two fields split, you can actually run this seeder down the middle, and the road will come back, and all the grass will come back. But if you get onto the field, you're going to start a racing field and turning it into grass. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to turn the... Oh, and the other thing I wanted to warn you, too. If you're using the plow and you hire a worker by mistake, I did that with my joystick. I by mistake hired a worker. When you fire him, it's going to turn that allow field creation off. So you need to press the O key and turn it back on again. So just a word of warning when you're plowing, and I'll show you that again so you can see it. No, I don't want to hire a worker. I don't want to hire a worker. Gosh. Once again, my right bumper is wearing out on my Xbox joystick, which means I'm going to have to take the joystick apart and fix it again. Maybe someday I'll get a Steam controller. Alrighty. So there we go. If you look at the menu here, you can see here I have, if I press O, it says limit to fields. And then I come over here somewhere in the middle and I press hire a worker by mistake. Oops, I didn't mean to hire a worker, and I disconnect them. You can notice that I have to press O again to change it back to the mode where it allows me to chop up the field. So just be careful, because you'll start plowing again and go, oh, why isn't it working? And that's because the guy is not hired. So we're going to pop that down. Last but not least, now you can run your... Whoops, where did I put it? Oh, I didn't bring it over. The cultivator or the seeder. We'll just seed it for now. But you'll notice if I grab my seeder, if I bash into it real hard, we'll go down to the other end. We're going to select wheat or anything you want. Potatoes, barley, whatever you want to do. We're going to run our tractor down to the end of the field, and we're going to hire a worker, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to line them up. And 3, 2, and 1, fire. So theoretically, he should just run right down the field and keep going. Now I can see some green spots in there from a distance. I think that means we might need to run over again with the plow. If this guy has a hard time planting seeds there, we'll know that it's not right. And so we'll have to repair that. But right from here, it looks like it's good. Sometimes you don't get it all the way, though. When you see those patches from a distance, that means that there's actually a flaw in the field. And you have to go back and plow that section again. So you see here, though, he just goes right over the plowed section, and we are seeding. So we can just let him finish his run. And in 15 minutes or so, he'll be done seeding the field, and you will have your one huge field from 2 little fields. So anyway, I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful, and I want you guys all to have a great night. Be sure to subscribe for more great tutorials, and also, obviously, I do my walkthroughs or playthroughs, so hope to see you on the farm field. Have a great night, guys. Be sure to subscribe.